Well, the World Series is knotted up at one apiece as they go back to Chavez Ravine. The Los Angeles Dodgers hope to capture a World Series in their home stadium, but the Blue Jays want to bring it back to Canada, or do they want to end it sooner than that? We'll talk about it in this edition of Back to the Bullpen.
I'm looking to the bullpen to bring my lefty in. Keep the lead and make your team look pedestrian. It's in your wheelhouse, we'll swing for the fence. You know it's money around here, man, I ain't talking expense. Strike one, heat a low in the way you can't hit it. You know you want to start a rally, but you better forget it. Strike two, off speed, same spot, your car looking. Get ready at the plate, this time you're not cooking. Strike three, swinging out of the zone. You ain't even touch it first. Tell me how they gonna drive you home. Walking back, looking like we ain't cool then. The game's over, might as well put them back to the bullpen, oh yeah.
That's right, and we are back to the bullpen. I am Brett Chancey. He is Mike Stanton, and we are the crew that brings you back to the bullpen. The man to my left or my right, however you're seeing it on your screen, is 19 years, big league experience. He still has the same baseball that he's used on TV for many years, and I bet you he can spin it with the best of them. Mike, tell everybody where they can find you, sir.
Yeah, that's going to be on X, formerly known as Twitter, and it's Mike Stanton 29. And to tell you the truth, I wish I could spin it as good when I was pitching as I can now, because I actually get to, I teach a lot of youth. I teach a lot of players of all levels, and I've actually done research. We didn't have a lot of the stuff, the technology that goes on now back in the day. And, no, I'm not complaining about, I had a great career, way better than I ever should have, way better than I ever deserved. But yeah, I got a better idea how things are supposed to work now. So.
No, yeah, and I mean it has changed, and I see time and time again where former big league pitchers talk about spin rate. What spin rate? That wasn't really a thing y'all looked at, and I know you've talked to me about that as well.
Sure.
About how that just was not a thing back then.
Oh, you didn't have the technology to figure out what it meant. True. Because here's the thing. Yes, it seems like on all pitches you would like to have the ball spinning as fast as you can. That's simply not the case. I mean, there are pitches that you actually want to reduce the spin rate to increase the movement. That's a story for another time. We're going to have baseball. We're going to be in the off season here pretty soon. So let's talk World Series.
Yeah, definitely. So the series tied 1-1. The Blue Jays absolutely obliterated the Dodgers in game one. I mean, it was a shellacking. Yeah. And it was not your typical Blake Snell start that he had. And you had talked about in our previous show how Dave Roberts has kind of flipped the script on the starting pitching and relying on the starting pitching, where the name of the game in Major League Baseball is the bullpen, and not depending on your starters going 7+ innings, because the game has changed so much. I mean, they took full advantage of being at home. They took full advantage of the energy of the Rogers Center. And but
what they really took advantage of, they took advantage of the Dodgers bullpen. And if you remember, we talked about this going into the playoffs. What was the Achilles heel of the Dodgers? It was obviously it wasn't their rotation. It's not their lineup. It's not their defense. It was their bullpen. But up until this World Series, up until this series going on right now, the Dodgers had pretty much done a great job of limiting the amount of bullpen use that they needed. And a lot of times they were winning, and they were winning by several runs, so they didn't really have to worry about that. But in game one, what we saw a arguably one of the best offenses in Major League Baseball, which was the Toronto Blue Jays, one of the hottest offensive team in the playoffs by far. I mean, I think they threw out a stat the other night that what was it? The league of all the teams in Major League Baseball in the playoffs were hitting just over 200, and the Toronto Blue Jays were hitting just over 300 as a team. So it just shows you how good they had been offensively. And, Blake Snell, didn't have his best stuff, threw a lot of changeups, got in trouble in the 6th inning. But when it was going into the bottom of the 6th inning, it was a 2-2 game.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Because I was looking back, Blake, they did score the 2 runs off of Snell.
Yeah.
And that was more than he had given up, I think, in the last couple games. But it was that 6th inning where they put up the 9 spot, and it was just that inning right there where you had Sheehan and Vanda. Just now, 5 of the runs were tagged and credited to
3
Snell.
of those. So Snell came out with the bases loaded.
Exactly.
And Sheehan gave up a grand slam to Barger, the right fielder. And then I think there was another home run hit in that inning. Ends up being a 9 spot. I mean, when you talk about crooked numbers, that's about as crooked as you can get. And just an incredible job of not striking out, of putting the ball in play, and hitting a lot of balls hard. And then last night, you saw a crazy pitcher's duel early. I mean, both guys gave up runs early, and then it was goose eggs until the middle of the game, and then a couple mislocated fastballs by Gausman, and and then the Dodgers hit a couple solo home runs. But the real story of the game was just arguably one of the best pitchers in all of baseball, Yamamoto, actually throwing another complete game, the second
unreal
back complete games. We hadn't seen that in quite some time, but just an outstanding pitching job. And I'll tell you what, he is arguably, like I said, he's got some of the best stuff. Well, he throws like 6 or 7 pitches, and the crazy thing is, he's got command of all of them. They simply don't see most of the time. I remember when Daisuke Matsuzaka came over and the Red Sox got him. He had a great first season. Second season, things started falling apart, and then very quickly he became basically a mediocre pitcher. And it wasn't because of stuff; it was because he had all these pitches, and he couldn't really command any of them in that first season. Hitter swung at him.
Yeah.
He threw all the stuff up there and hit. Well, they figured out that he doesn't ever throw these things for a strike. So let's just take. Well, that's Matsuzaka. I'm sorry. He not Matsuzaka, Yamamoto. He just commands everything, and his split finger fastball is filthy. I think the best inning he had was actually the 8th inning where he struck out the side, and Toronto Blue Jays had no chance against him whatsoever, and then end up throwing another complete game, which goes right into the hands of the Dodgers just simply because they didn't have to go back to the bullpen.
Exactly. Before I give you my thoughts on game 2, in game 1, Barger became the first guy to come in and hit a pinch hit, not just home run, but a grand slam.
Right. Yeah. I mean, just
that was wild.
Yeah, it really was. And, earlier in the game, who was it? Is it Varsho? Varsho hit a home run off of Blake Snell, which that was the first home run Blake Snell had given up off a left-hander in, I mean, not just this year, multiple years. I can't remember exactly what it was, but
Mike, and that's why you play the games, and that's why at the beginning, when the Astros were trying to make it into the playoffs, you were like, you just got to get there.
Yeah,
you just got to get there, and things can happen, things can go your way. But Yamamoto was dealing now. I do have to ask you about this because this has been much of the, water cooler talk with George Springer already being hit twice in this series, game 1 and game 2. I see a lot of people, a lot of people have a lot of opinions about things they don't know about.
Right.
I tend to do that. I mean, hey, guilty as charged, right?
Don't we all?
But is there any real motivation for the Dodgers? Because I've heard one theory that I don't believe at all. They're like, well, they're still mad at him for 2017, which I think is nonsense, because I think maybe the fans are. The players have gotten over that. But is there any chance you're sending George Springer a message, going high and tight, giving him a bow tie, as Satchel Paige would call it? Or is this just like ball gets away? What do you think from the outside looking in? Of course, I'm asking you to know what's going on inside of their head or in that dugout.
Right.
But what do you think?
Yeah, you're asking me to read minds, and I am not good at that. No, there is nothing there whatsoever. What they're trying to do is they're trying to pitch George inside, because when you throw the ball out over the plate, George can absolutely hammer it. He doesn't do that well on pitches inside. So, yeah, this is not a situation that they're mad at him for it. I mean, listen, it's 8 years ago, and I think there's only one person on the team. Is that Kershaw? Maybe something like that was even around back then. So
yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, it's got nothing to do with it whatsoever. This is just a situation. They're pitching him inside, and if you miss, you miss. I mean, we're not, there are no, there's no warm fuzzy feelings when it comes to George. So, no, but as far as the reasoning behind it, the reasoning behind it is they're trying to get him out and they want to keep him in the ballpark. So you throw it inside, and if you hit him, you hit him. But you're trying to make sure that he doesn't get out over the plate and hit those off-speed pitches out of the ballpark.
Okay, so Yamamoto throws 4 pitches the most: his four seam, his split finger, his curveball, and his cutter. Can you show us the difference in grip between a four-seamer and a cutter?
Okay, well, to start off with, cutter is slang for actually cut fastball.
Okay.
So he throws 3 different fastballs. He throws a 4-seam fastball, a 2-seam fastball, and a cut fastball. Okay, the 4-seamer and the 2-seamer are basically the same velocity. The cut fastball or cutter is usually a couple miles an hour slower than that. He didn't throw very many of them because he didn't have very good control over it, but it really varies. I'll show you the grips that I used. Okay, my 4-seam fastball, I held like this, just cross the seams, just square in my hand, just like this. The cutter, I would rotate the ball 1/4 to get still 4-seam fastball, and then just put my fingers together. Now, the difference is the 4-seam fastball comes off square in your hand, and it gives you backspin. The cut fastball, you actually cut through the outside of the ball, and the ball has a little bit of a tilted spin. And so you still stay behind it. You still throw it hard, but you're only looking for 6 or 8 inches of movement. Basically, it's to get the ball off the meat of the bat, the barrel of the bat.
Okay.
To get weak contact. So, it's just something to give the hitter a little bit different look. A 2-seam fastball, which is thrown like this. There's multiple grips of a 2-seam fastball, but this is the kind of the universal one. You do it with the seams.
Exactly.
And this will move to the arm side of the pitcher. The cut fastball will move to the glove side of the pitcher. And then the 4-seam fastball, usually you try and stay straight. So it's a variation of the same pitch, but pitchers use them in 3 different manners.
Yeah, and I mean, I was going to ask you about the sweeper, but he threw like one sweeper.
It's a slider.
Yeah,
it's a slider. We coined that term. We being Major League Baseball, not me, because I don't use the word sweeper. But it's a slider. It's a slider that, pitchers can manipulate the size and the shape of the break. And we've all been doing that. That's the real difference between a slider and a curveball. It's the size of the break and the shape of the break. And all they've done is they've kind of come around the slider a little bit to get a little bit more vertical movement. Horizontal movement over vertical movement. I still think that it's a pitch that is a very dangerous pitch. And I think that Major League Baseball has gone away from it recently. 2-3 years ago, everybody threw a sweeper and it was very successful. Well, hitters kind of figured out, okay, they're not throwing the depth. They're throwing the one that stays on plane. And I think that it's not used nearly as much as it has been. Now, I have no data. I haven't checked into that. I have no data to support that. It's just me watching games. It doesn't seem to have the same usage that it did before. And then there's a lot of pitches that have depth in them that they're still calling sweepers that are actually technically more of a slider or even a hard curveball.
Did you throw a slider?
I threw a cutter.
A cutter.
I did.
Okay.
I did have a slider also, and then the slider kind of came and gone. I didn't use it a whole lot. I did have a curveball that I had most of my career.
So when I'm sitting here, hearing all this talk about Yamamoto and his control, Blake Snell and all this stuff, but really the best counter to a solid pitcher is not only an offense that can hit, but the preparation that goes in prior to the game.
Sure.
And there are stories right now about Coach David Popkins, first year hitting coach. He came in and Driveline Sports actually reported on this, that their F4 went from 21 to 32.6. Their WRC plus went from 23 went to 23. What they did was they emphasized bat speed, measured intent, and giving hitters the freedom to compete and own their process. Get this, they gained nearly 1 mile per hour of average bat speed in a single season. And with an aging roster, that's huge. I mean, this team, for all intents and purposes, still poses a major threat no matter who the Dodgers throw at them. So at this point, it's a chess match. How long do you keep your starters in? But tell me.
So, Brett, I love you to death, but
yes,
we completely lost everyone with all that information.
I'm sorry.
Okay. That's deep into the weeds.
Right.
Okay. Basically what's happened in Major League Baseball, and we're going to talk, this is over the last several years. This isn't just this year. The reason why we see strikeouts have gone through the roof. I mean, we've set records a couple different times over the last few years, is because what the data actually, the interpretation of the data, and this is across Major League Baseball. This isn't the Dodgers. This isn't, this isn't one specific team, is that a strikeout is just an out. It is not anything special. It's not something that hitters need to avoid. It is, what they would rather have is, instead of taking, you get 2 good swings, okay,
right,
strike 1 and strike 2, strike 3, we're going to cut down the swing, we're going to make contact, we're going to put the ball in play. No, that's out. What we are is, give me 3 swings, give me 3 good, hard, whatever swing you have. We don't want any 2-strike approach. And that has put the strikeout to go through the roof. Okay. Well, listen, there are many examples. Astros years ago were one of them. They had one of the seasons that I can't remember which one, that they won the World Series. They did not strike out. They put the ball in play all the time. Toronto Blue Jays are that way now. This is a team that does not have much swing and miss, a lot of foul balls, but they put the ball in play. And I think there's something to be said about that. You mix that with the idea that fastballs just simply aren't used anymore. Fastball is a show me pitch. And that's really what Yamamoto did last night. The fastball, which he was throwing plenty hard enough, that was to set up his off-speed stuff. He would throw it up in the zone. He would throw it down in the zone. He would throw it off the plate. But he was looking to get all the Toronto Blue Jays hitters out with his mostly his split finger fastball. He threw a lot of really good curveballs that the Toronto Blue Jays were not looking for yesterday. That's not a pitch he used a whole lot. Kevin Gausman on the other side, everyone was sitting on the splitter, and he threw mostly fastballs. I mean, he threw, I think it was in the 5th inning, they showed the pitch breakdown that, he was in the mid 60s in percentage of fastball usage, which is way, way up across Major League Baseball, but especially for him, because he had thrown over 35 split finger fastballs in the last start. He didn't throw nearly that many this time around. You go, well, why? Did he not feel it? No. He knows what he had a feeling. That's what the Dodgers were looking for, was a split finger fastball. So he went with the fastball. Unfortunately, there in the 5th or 6th inning, whichever one it was, which he was dealing, 2 mislocated fastballs end up going into the seats, and that gave the Dodgers a 3-1 lead. Then they end up, just taking the rest of the game.
No, they did. One other storyline from, game 1 and 2 before we get into the matchups of 3 and 4 is Bo Bichette coming back.
Yeah.
Bo Bichette hadn't played in 49 days, hadn't taken a live pitch in a batter, had been taking live pitching, but a lot different than in the World Series. In his first at bat, he gets a hit. I think it's big to have him back. I don't know what his impact will be overall.
I don't know what the actual impact is going to be, but having one of your dudes, having one of your MVPs. Now, it's Vladdy, but having another one of your main offensive cogs get back in the lineup just carries weight. I mean, Astros fans, we know this. I mean, Jordan coming back made everybody else in the lineup better. Bo Bichette isn't Jordan, but he's pretty stinking good, and he had a good season also. So that was, I think, the really interesting thing about Bo Bichette coming back was he was playing second base, which he hadn't played second base in years and years and years, because he just simply wasn't going to play shortstop with Jimenez as good as he has been playing.
Yeah, I mean, he hadn't played it since he was with the Buffalo Bison, the AAA team for the Blue Jays. But hey, let me tell you something. If you have been sitting on the sidelines like Bo Bichette and you don't have your back to the bullpen tee, what are you waiting for? I mean, we're officially taking you off the T-shirt IL. Right there is your QR code. Not only that, we also have a discount code that we're going to share with you, and it is B2B. Use that at checkout for 10% off your order of 2 shirts or more at ramshirts.com. You'll also get, since it's Halloween season, you'll get a treat as well. Mark said he'll throw in.
Well, I have another idea though. With this deal of listen, these things are cheap anyways. So he's giving you 10% off on top of that. And yes, Christmas is coming up, but we're not talking about Christmas. It's Halloween. This would be a great alternative for candy.
Yeah.
Kids, bad teeth need to brush their teeth, taking all the sugar. No, give them a back to the bullpen shirt.
Look what I got.
There it is.
I've got an extra one. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to give this away.
Heck yeah, man.
So,
like it.
Yeah. So we will, I will post something on our socials on X, and I will post something on Instagram. And we'll start getting the entries in, and I'll put a post on YouTube as well. We'll get entries in.
Well, hold on. We have to have some reason why somebody wins it. It's not just to win it. You got to have watched our podcast. How about this?
Yes.
You have to predict what I said. So I didn't, when we did predictions in our last podcast, so I can tell you when it happened, prior to the World Series. I broke down who was going to win depending on how many games it went. Okay. And I'll give you a hint. You know what? I'll just tell you what I said then, just so you have it in front of you. It was, what did I say? If it goes 5 games or fewer, the Dodgers win. If it goes 6 or 7, Toronto has a real good shot of winning this World Series. So now it's not just it's a random thing. Now you have to know the answer.
That's right. Know the answer. So there's the Bulls, the horns back to the
there
bullpen.
It is.
Logo on the back.
Mess with the bullpen, you get the horns.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, that's right. Mess with the bullpen, you get the horns. But seriously, it's right here. It is an XL shirt. I've got it. It is brand new. It is fresh out of the package. So I'll post that on socials once it's posted. Give us the answer. Give us a reply. You'll be entered to win, and would love to get a free shirt out to our fans. So Game 3, Glasnow versus Mad Max.
Yeah.
I think,
it's gonna be a fun one.
Yeah, it will be. How long will Max go? Will he be dealing? He is a stalwart veteran. He is a guy, whether he's staring at you from his brown eye or his blue eye, he's intimidating. And Mike, guys like Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander, these guys, I mean, even the younger version of some of these guys, like maybe Paul Skeens and some others, these big body pitchers, the Tom Seavers, the Nolan Ryans, the Necros, the guys that were just your larger than life guys, they just don't make starting pitchers like they used to. And Mad Max is part of it. I think of it almost like changing of guards in the style of pitching. And even at his age, can be a formidable opponent for the Dodgers if he plays his cards right.
His last time out, he pitched well, went 5 2/3, did a really nice job. And he, it was a big reason why Toronto ended up turning that series around and winning, because they went down 2-0, went down 0-2 in the National League Championship or American League Championship Series against Seattle. Max started Game 3.
Yeah,
against Seattle. So he pitched well. He's had to change things a little bit of like all pitchers do. He's not throwing 100, but 100's really not that special anymore. I think he only threw like 27% four-seam fastballs, which is incredibly low. Now he threw some two-seam fastballs, so it's not that he put the fastball away altogether, but he's going to have to mix and match, and it's going to be one of those things, just like everybody does. Big league hitters hit fastballs. That's why people don't throw fastballs anymore. They throw all the off-speed stuff, and he still has tremendous off-speed stuff. He still has, a crazy amount of adrenaline when he's pitching. That's something he's going to have to keep an eye on. Okay. But I expect Max to pitch pretty well. As far as the number of pitches, it's going to be however, there's no limit. I think his last rehab start, he threw 90 plus pitches. He threw just about 90, I think, somewhere like that in his last start. So there's no restrictions there.
Yeah, no.
I expect Max to be good. He's just going to have to be a little careful early in the start, not to have too much going on, too much adrenaline, because if he gets a little fastball happy, well, that can be turned around. And the Dodgers still have a very good offense.
Exactly. And his big swing and miss pitches, his highest swing and miss pitches are his slider and his curveball.
It's a slider.
And just, it's when it's on, it's filthy.
Yeah. But he's also got a very good changeup. And listen, This guy's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He is going to be, he is one of the pitchers, the best pitchers of that generation, which there's another one on the other side that's in the bullpen for the Dodgers in Clayton Kershaw. These are two of the best pitchers of that generation. It's just unfortunate that we are end of that generation, and Kershaw, this being his last year, he will retire.
Exactly. And Tyler Glasnow this year, his last 3 games he's been in, 2 games he started, 13.1 innings pitched, 18 strikeouts, 1.13 whip, 0.68 ERA.
Yeah.
He has been really delivering.
Yeah, he's got crazy good stuff. He always has. He was a top pitching prospect for years and years and years. Big dude. This dude is 6'8", throws a fastball and a hammer for a curve. His last time out, he freaking dealt. But I will say this, he had some assistants. The assistants were the shadows, and there's going to be shadows in this game. This game starts at 5:00. I believe, 5:10 or 5:08, whatever it is, out in LA. So there's going to be shadows. So, that definitely bodes well for the pitchers on both sides, not just, not just for the Dodgers, but for Max Scherzer and the Toronto Blue Jays also. So it's going to be, especially for the first probably half of this game, it's going to be a little tough to see until the lights are able to take over completely. And Glasnow was just absolutely filthy his last time out. The shadows were a help, but he was throwing hard. The curveball was on point. That's why he's got an ERA, right at just a half a run per 9 innings.
And something that these teams have done in both of these games is, the Dodgers did it 2 games in a row where they scored first. In the first game, it didn't matter because of the 9-run 6th inning by the Blue Jays. We know how that ended. But really scoring early, whether it's the Dodgers down first or the Blue Jays down, I don't count either one of these teams out. That
stat has been a little obscured this year because, in the regular season years ago, this is something that Leo Mazzoni, back when we were at Atlanta, told us that, and obviously it sticks with me if I'm going to say it, that, 70% of the teams that score first win the game.
Wow.
I think it's been a little bit lower, maybe 62, 63% for this season. But for this postseason, it's been even less than that. And I think the key is that the number that if somebody's going to score early, you make sure as a pitcher you're doing everything you can to limit the damage and just give up one. Because if you're going to win, you got to score anyway. So, I think that's something that is something to keep an eye on. But I want to say Smoltz, John Smoltz, who's doing who's the color commentator for Fox, is I want to say it was in the low 50% range, 52% or something, 53%. Now that might have changed since I heard that, but yeah, I mean, you still want to score first. You're still going to win the majority of the games when you score first. But if you can limit that damage, Scherzer does give up one. Don't give up a 3-run home run. Now you're the advantage goes to the Dodgers big time. Keep it to 1 run, and you got a much better chance of winning. Obviously, Captain Obvious, I did not stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night.
So game 4, real quick, Bieber versus Ohtanit, a solid matchup. If Ohtani's anything like he was the last time he was out, he's got
different offensive team, vastly different offensive.
It is a different offensive team. So
he's going to be facing the Toronto Blue Jays, who are a very, very good offensive team that don't swing and miss.
Right.
But you got to remember, Ohtanit only went 6 innings.
He did,
and even with the 10 strikeouts, there was still 9 outs that bullpen had to cover. Now he took care of a lot of that himself, hitting the 3 home runs.
Right.
But yeah,
So you don't think he's going to hit 3 home runs again?
Against, let's see, you said he's going against Bieber? Probably not.
Probably not.
Just simply because Bieber spins the ball like crazy.
True.
I mean, that is what he does. Now, he didn't have a great start his last time out. His offense picked him up, but this is a former Cy Young Award winner. I mean, this is, he is very, very good. He's going to have to command his off-speed stuff. But also in that game, you're going to have the same thing. You're going to have the shadows. Game 5, you're going to have the shadows. All these games are starting at the same time, which is, just after 5:00 Pacific Coast time. So, this is that's going to give the advantage to the pitching. Still got to make the pitches, but when the hitters can't see as well, you got a little bit of an advantage.
Definitely. I think it's important for the Blue Jays to take this game or to take game 5. Game 4, because if they take one of the games, it's going back to Toronto regardless.
Yeah. And that's ultimately, that's so the Dodgers did, even though game 1 was so ugly with the 9-run 6th inning, they did exactly what they wanted to do, which is you want to come out of the first 2 games. You want to come out of Toronto with a split, which gives you home field advantage. They have the ability now to not send it back for it not to go back to Canada, not to go back to Toronto. If they win 3 in a row, the World Series is over. And then the Toronto Blue Jays on the other side are doing everything they can to send it back to back to Toronto. So we'll just have to wait and see. But this is a good matchup. I think the pitching for both sides seems to be solid. It's just going to be a matter of execution.
Okay, so I've got a few pitch or ditch questions before we go. Okay. Pitch or ditch, Dave Roberts pulls his starter too soon in 1 or 2 games while in LA.
I'm going to say you're saying he is going to pull.
He's going to pull them too early.
I think that this is the time that's going against everything that the Dodger DNA says, which is do not let pitchers go through the 3rd time. No, the way their starting rotation has pitched in this postseason, you're going to ride those horses all the way to the finish line if you can. You just saw what he did with Yamamoto, him being the first time in several years to go back-to-back in the postseason with complete games. I think that you ride these dudes just as – now, is Tyler Glasnow Yamamoto? No, he is not. He's not going to throw nearly as many pitches, but he is not going to. He's going to ride these guys, And to tell you the truth, that's what he should. I mean, you got the horses in the rotation that he's got, and they're throwing as well as they are. That's exactly what you should do. You still got to try and stay away from that bullpen. You're going to cover, it's a little different covering in a game 7, when your starting pitcher hits 3 home runs, covering 9 outs. It's a little different than, in game 3, 4, or 5, having to cover 9 outs. So, no, I think he rides the starters.
Okay, pitch or ditch. And I kind of said this earlier, but jokingly, but in a serious question, Shohei Ohtani hits a home run when he's on the mound starting game 4. Pitch or ditch?
I'm going to say ditch. I think they're going to face him. He's going to face a lot more breaking balls. Listen, he's still the best athlete on the field. It doesn't matter what field he's on. He's got the ability to do it. But I think with Shane Bieber on the mound, I think that, that's going to be that's going to be a little bit more of a tougher situation. But it's always possible. I'm going to say ditch. I'm going to say that Bieber's able to keep him in the ballpark.
Okay. Let's go with this. Pitch or ditch. The Dodgers can win 3 games in a row and clinch their first back-to-back World Series since 2000.
Yeah, I think they can. I don't think they will. So I guess I'm going to say ditch again, because What have I told you the whole time? I want them to go back to Toronto. I want 7 games. I want like 12 innings in game 7. I want complete and total chaos. I want people sitting on the edge of their seat and crying that baseball is over. I want a historic World Series. So I want 7 games. So no, they are going back to Toronto.
Okay. Here's a tough one. Pitch or ditch. George Springer leads off the game with a home run in Los Angeles after the huge wave of boos rain over him. He's got 23 all time.
Yeah.
23 postseason home runs.
I gotta go ditch. I think that, George is going to look to do it. And if he gets the mistake, he's actually capitalized on a lot of mistakes already this postseason. But Tyler Glasnow, just starting tomorrow. I just, with the shadows, I think that's a tall order.
Okay, so in game 3 tomorrow, no matter who wins, pitch or ditch, it's going to be one of the unsung heroes. It's not going to be a star that is a key cog in that win, whether it's on offense. And Clement's almost a star anyways because of what he's been doing in the playoffs. Yeah. But someone like a Christian Kirk or Lukes or Jimenez or even, Pages or Edman, one of the lesser known names, are we going to have someone other than a star win and be the deciding factor in game 3, pitch or ditch?
I think that's a pitch. I think that's usually what happens because the guys that are at the top of the lineup, you bear down so much. I think that's absolutely a possibility. It's all about capitalizing on mistakes, but a lot of times what wins these games, is a big base hit, just a base hit, not a home run, but just a base hit when you got ducks on the pond, because a lot of times the guys that are out there on the base, you're I don't want to say pitching around them, but you're not going to let them beat you. The crazy thing is how good Vladdy Jr. has been, because he's had a star by his name or an asterisk by his name. I'm not going to let this guy beat me, but he's doing it anyways. So, I think that's actually, that's a pitch. I think that's definitely a possibility.
I don't know if it was George Springer, Bichette. I can't remember who it was, but someone had a picture. Someone had taken the picture. I don't know if you've seen the picture from when they were in Montreal, and Vlad Guerrero Jr. is like a little kid, and he's got like his big hair, and he's like tipping the helmet. I just him being on this team and hearing about the legacy his father has, and saying that when he wins the ring that he wants to give it to his dad because his dad never got one. I mean, what I love about his story is it's got to be so difficult to play in the shadow of your father. It's very rare, like a King Griffey Jr. and King Griffey Sr., where the son is better, because King Griffey was a good player. He wasn't a slouch.
He was a
good player.
Yeah, not a Hall of Famer, but he was a very good player, no doubt.
Yeah. So Linda wants to know before we go, do you think they're going to hit George Springer again?
Well, not on purpose. Is there a possibility? Of course, because George doesn't really, he likes to hang in there. He likes the ball out over the plate. So that means that a lot of times he's a little slow on the reaction in. So there's still the possibility, because they're still going to pitch him in, and George is still going to look out over the plate. But if you're asking, are we going to do it on purpose? No, it's not.
I'm glad, like, that ball glanced off his wrist. If that would have been a direct shot, you're talking about bones broken.
Yeah. I mean, the wrist is better than the hand. The bones are bigger. There's so many little bones in the hand. But heck, the Astros have one of the guys that they're one of their Hall of Famers. He had the big pad on his hand because he never got his freaking hands out of the way, and that was Bagwell.
Yeah, look at this. I think I've shown this to you. I've got a pair of Baggies gloves. They sold them in the store, and I look at that.
There it is. Yeah,
these are actual. These were worn by Jeff Bagwell.
Yeah.
And
he got hit on his hand so many times that they put that pad on there, because he was the same thing. He's looking for the ball down out over the plate, and he just wasn't going to move, and he would get hit on the back of that left hand. And I think he was out a couple times with bruises. I think he even broke the hammock bone one time.
Insane. Well, hey, Mike, this has been a great show. Aren't you going to be on the radio again?
I am going to be on the radio tomorrow night.
Okay.
And this is post-game analysis on MLB Network Radio, Sirius XM. And I'll be on actually Monday and Tuesday night. So game 3 and game 4, I'll be on after the game, after the post-game show. Then we'll have our round trip show.
Awesome. And then we'll come on after that, probably, I guess, maybe this next Thursday. We should. Yeah. So we'll come back, but y'all make sure y'all check out Mike on SiriusXM Radio. Make sure you go to Ram Shirts and check out our deal right here, the code B2B for 10% off your order of 2 shirts or
Halloween. More. Get a whole bunch of them. Give them away.
Give them out to the kids.
There you go. And they don't need the sugar anyways.
That's right. And I've got one right here that we're giving away. Okay. I will outline it on the tweet. I will get a script to type out from Mike exactly what it is, but it is something he referenced in a show. And if you can repeat it, you'll be
including this show and our last show, our World Series, our World Series preview, and this show mentioned it in both.
Yes, this is a treat, no trick. And you know what? Sometime in this offseason, we got to talk about this.
Oof.
League realignments. Oh, this, Mike. Baseball's changing. You know it's not changing? Back to the bullpen, covering everything baseball across the country. So for myself, from Mike, and everybody here at Back to the Bullpen, we thank y'all for hanging out with us. And you know what? I'm going to say it. Go Blue Jays, beat the Dodgers.
Adios.
I'm looking to the bullpen to bring my lefty in. Keep the lead and make your team look pedestrian. It's in your wheelhouse, we'll swing for the fence. You know it's money around here, and I ain't talking expense. Strike 1, heat a low in the way, you can't hit it. Know you wanna start a rally, but you better forget it. Strike 2, off speed, same spot, your car looking. Get ready at the plate, this time you're not cooking. Strike 3, swinging out of the zone. You ain't even touch it first. Tell me how they gonna drive you home. Walking back, looking like we ain't cool then. The game's